6 p.m. here in Cairo, time for the news bulletin. We start our news with the headlines. President Sisi stresses the importance of peace over a phone call with Ukraine's Zelensky. Hamas says it reviews Gaza ceasefire proposals after Trump said Israel agrees to a 60-day ceasefire. And U.S. halts some shipments of military aid to Ukraine. Welcome back. The news in detail. President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi on Sunday have stressed the importance of diplomatic and peaceful solutions in order to settle the current Ukrainian crisis. Over a phone call he received from Ukraine's President Vladimir Zelensky, the president said Egypt fully supports efforts aiming at striking a peaceful settlement in the nearest possible time. Presidential spokesman Ambassador Mohammed Shinawi said the conversation covered updates of the Ukrainian crisis as well as developments in the Middle East. Both sides emphasized the importance of ensuring the Iran-Israel ceasefire is stable and or resuming negotiations with the aim of reaching peaceful settlements. The president also reviewed Egyptian efforts to realize a ceasefire in Gaza Strip and ensure flow of humanitarian aid into the enclave. The spokesman added that Presidents Sisi and Zelensky have discussed means of boosting bilateral relations and also foreseeing cooperation in economic fields, trade and investment. Prime Minister Dr. Mustafa Madbouli participated in a high-level session on debts as solutions for resilience and reform as part of the 4th International Conference on Financing for Development that is currently held in Spain. The Prime Minister's participation at the UN gathering that kicked off on Monday is on behalf of President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi. Minister of Foreign Affairs, Migration and Expatriate Affairs, Badr Abdel Ati, asserted that the integration between Egypt's foreign policy and economic policies helps consolidate the country's standing on regional and international arenas. The remarks came at the meeting the minister held with Investment and Foreign Trade Minister Hassan El Khatib that was attended by the ambassadors who will be moving for work at the Egyptian embassies and missions abroad. The top diplomat also hailed the two ministers' cooperation and coordination in support of national economy and development. Abdel Ati signaled the pivotal role of Egyptian embassies in supporting the state's economic and trade goals. At a separate meeting, the top diplomat have asserted that his ministry is the first defense line for preserving the interests of Egyptian state internationally. The meeting was held with Minister of Youth and Sports Ashraf Sobhi. The Foreign Affairs Minister said his ministry is keenly engaged with youth on a periodic basis in order to raise their awareness amid the exceptional challenges Egypt is facing. Abdel Ati also held a meeting with the group of 40 youths who are participating in an activity to simulate the Egyptian Senate's Foreign, Arab and African Affairs Committee and in Egypt's Youth Parliament. The Egyptian political institutions' simulation models are organized by the Ministry of Sports and Youth. Israeli bombardment of the Gaza Strip intensified on Wednesday, killing at least 14 people during the last few hours as Israeli aggression expanded amid renewed calls for a ceasefire. Meanwhile, the Red Cross have warned that Gaza's few functioning medical facilities were overwhelmed as Israeli occupation forces intensified their aggression in the Palestinian enclave. The details in a following report.
Amid growing calls for a ceasefire, U.S. President Donald Trump said that his representatives had met with Israeli officials about the conflict in the Gaza Strip. Trump said that during this 2-month truce, the U.S. will work with all parties to end the war. He said that representatives of Qatar and Egypt, mediators in the conflict, would deliver this final proposal. The remarks came ahead of Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's visit to Washington next week. Netanyahu is facing mounting pressure to end his devastating war in Gaza that has killed at least 56,647 people, mostly civilians. This comes after a ceasefire last week ended the 12-day Israeli war against Iran after U.S. President Donald Trump ordered U.S. warplanes to join in bombing Iranian nuclear sites. Key mediator Qatar said that momentum had been created in Gaza ceasefire talks by the Iran-Israel ceasefire. Foreign Ministry spokesman Majid Al-Ansari told journalists that Qatar believes that the elements are in place to push forward towards restarting the talks.
Israeli bombardment of the Gaza Strip intensified on Wednesday, killing at least 14 people during the last few hours as Israeli aggression. Meanwhile, the Red Cross have warned that Gaza's few functioning medical facilities were overwhelmed as Israeli occupation forces have intensified their aggression in the Palestinian. Iran's president on Wednesday ordered the country to suspend its cooperation with the International Atomic Energy Agency days after a ceasefire have ended an Israel war against the country that started on the 13th of June and incited an American intervention. The unprecedented Israeli airstrikes hit Iran's most important nuclear facilities, likely further limiting inspectors' ability to track Tehran's program. The order by President Masoud Pezeshkian included no timetables or details about what that suspension would entail. On June 25th, a day after a ceasefire took hold, Iranian lawmakers overwhelmed voted in favor of the bill to suspend cooperation with the agency. Iran has limited IAEA inspections in the past as a pressure tactic in negotiating with the West. The White House have said on Tuesday that it is halting some key weapons shipments to Ukraine that were promised under the Biden administration for Kyiv's battle against the Russian invasion. Stopping the delivery of munitions and other military aid, including air defense systems, likely would be a blow to Ukraine as it contends with some of Russia's largest missile and drone attacks of the 3-year-old war. The U.S. media reported that missiles for Patriot air defense systems, artillery and Hellfire missiles are among the items being held back. According to U.S. media, a Pentagon review determined that stocks had become too low on some previously pledged munitions and that some pending shipments would not be sent. This comes as U.S. President Donald Trump has pressed for Russia and Ukraine to speed up stalled peace talks. For its part, the Kremlin on Wednesday have welcomed the move by the United States to halt some weapons shipments to Ukraine, saying reducing the flow of weapons to Kyiv will help end the conflict faster. Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov have told reporters that in any case, the fewer the number of weapons that are delivered to Ukraine, the closer the end of the special military operation. Back home, as Minister of Petroleum, Engineer Karim Badawi have accompanied by Minister of Labour Mohammed Gobran and Red Sea Governor Major General Amr Hanafi visited the survivors of a barrage that capsized in the Gulf Suez of Suez who were receiving treatment at El Gouna Hospital. Ministries were wounded. It added that high alert was announced in the Red Sea Governorate as search and rescue operations continued. Recovery. They also reassured the medical teams that all aspects of medical care would be. Deputy Prime Minister for Industrial Development, Minister of Industry and Transport, Kamel Al-Wazir, today met President of Alstom's Africa, Middle East and Central Asia region, Martin Vajjour. The meeting have touched on the path of the work of the implementation of the 6th Underground Metro line and the establishment of a giant industrial complex of the French railway developer at Alexandria's Burj Al Arab city. A statement by the Transport Ministry said that the meeting came in the framework of the presidential directives on the increased dependency on green transport and completion of the national metro grid. The statement also pointed out that the complex comprises 2 key factories specialized in the production of railway components and in the production of all mobile carriages. Egypt's stock market had closed higher today amid purchases by local corporations and local and foreign investors against sell-offs by Arab and foreign corporations and Arab investors. The market capital of listed companies added 12 billion Egyptian pounds, crossing 2.3 trillion pounds at the end of the average transactions of more than 100 billion pounds. The benchmark index, EGX 30, rose 0.4% above the 32,820 point mark. The equal weighted indices, EGX 70 and EGX 100, climbed 1.2% and 1.1% respectively. Borussia Dortmund held on to defeat CF Monterrey 2-1 overnight in Atlanta to reach the FIFA Club World Cup quarterfinal. Moving to the world of tennis, as Coco Gauff have crashed out of Wimbledon on the day of first-round shocks, but defending women's champion Doba Bridgikadia and history. And with this, we come to the end of the news bulletin. My name is Amal Mukhtar. Thank you for watching.